All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're here with Eritha Akile Cainion. You saw her in the news piece where she was checking that reporter for trying to divert from the issues that she was speaking about. You know that I said that, hey, she is a new champion of mine, and many of you said the same thing. So you said, hey, reach out to her, but actually at the same time while I was trying to reach out, she hit me the DM, so it was crazy. At the same time we was trying to message each other. So she's here today. And Akile, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Is an honor to be on this show, and thank you. I can't thank you enough for all of the support that you have generated for this campaign, you know, both nationally and internationally. So thank you so much, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, you know, we all family, and everyone that watches us here, you know, we just one big family, you know, whether domestically, internationally. So we see and resonate with a message. We want to get behind that. So Akile, can you tell us what made you say, you know what, I'm sick of this crap, I need to run for office?
Well, it's a bit of a history, but you know, I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida, born and raised here, and I grew up a part of an international organization, the Uhuru movement, that after high school I joined. I graduated in 2015, and I could have, you know, was going to go off to college, but I just recognized that everything I needed was right here. And so I stayed here. I began to organize in my community, a part of the organization. And, you know, I was, you know, just knowing all the work that it is that we have to do, and the fact that, you know, the electoral arena specifically is one that typically gets unchallenged by the Black working class. And so the white ruling class gets to dominate the whole discussion. And so, you know, we thought it was really important to challenge them in their own arena, and that, you know, we could seize power in, you know, in this particular field as well. And so, you know, that's how, you know, the political involvement started, and, you know, up to today, realizing the situation in the world is happening right in my backyard in St. Pete. And so we had to enter this election, otherwise the Black community will be wiped out, where it's being wiped out all around the country. Black people are getting gentrified out of their communities every single day. And it's just a situation where St. Pete, you can leave for a week and come back to something totally different. So it's a really serious situation for us. We had to get into this election. We had to challenge what's happening. And, you know, we're really confident that we can win. And again, due in part to, you know, this program right here. So I looked at you know, of course, when you're putting together a campaign, you're trying to come up with a slogan and branding. And then the first thing we see on your website is make the Southside Black again. Now, where did that come from? Well, it's the anti-gentrification slogan, and the Southside St. Pete it used to be Black. It was majority Black, and it's a statement to say this is what was here, and that, you know, if we don't do this now, if we don't fight against it, you know, they will completely remove Black people from Southside St. Pete. And, you know, we believe that anybody who's opposed to gentrification, any freedom, justice loving person, should also be opposed to the gentrification of the Black community, because it's not just Black people moving out of their homes and going somewhere else. It's a vicious, deadly type of public policy in this city to push Black people out. And, you know, make the Southside Black again, especially in the context of everything we're seeing even in this country. You know, obviously it's the anti-status quo, anti-ruling class type of sentiment, and that the South Side used to be Black. We used to have, you know, 100 Black businesses in just one place alone called the Gas Plant District, you know, where there was, you know, 800 families, and, you know, they crushed it with a baseball dome. They put a dome on top of that land, pushed all those Black people out, and have just been, you know, for decades, pushing Black people out, destroying our communities, and we're saying that we won't have it anymore. So make the South Side Black again.
So what were the methods they used to push the Black families out, so people could kind of understand like how they did it? Because I know people say, yeah, they're pushing us out, but what methods did you find out based on research that how they did that?
Well, it's a couple of different ways that this happens. With the gas plant in particular, you know, it's not like they didn't bring it to a vote. They didn't ask the people, you know, is this what you want for your city or anything like that. And, you know, what they did was they promised this community light industry jobs and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, in return for which is 85 acres of land. And, ultimately though, the city council and the first black city council person in St. Pete, sold out the black community and just gave up that land. Again, not held to a vote, didn't ask that community what it is that they, wanted, did they approve of this or anything like that. And then they lied to the community and said, this is what will happen when this dome is built. And obviously we know that's not true. And that the way they push people out today, similar processes, and they use the police, police occupation, the militarization of our community. They spend 1/5 of the budget here on police, and that's not for the white community, that's for us. And that's a part of this process of gentrification. They do it by raising the cost of rents for everyone, so everybody's rent's going up. The average 2-bedroom apartment here is like $1,400 now, and that's higher than East New York. So they got that going on, and they also have this thing where if a black homeowner doesn't want to sell their house, because people are fighting to stay here and they've owned their home for generations, and if somebody says I don't want to sell my house, what they'll do is they'll call code and they'll try to use these intimidation tactics on them to force them out. So these are all the different ways that gentrification is happening, and again, it's a really deadly process.
So you're saying it is an administrative route they're going through, codes, etc. They're using, at least this is terminology we use here, they're using the race soldiers or AKA police, you want to call them that. They're using the race soldiers to occupy and intimidate, and also they're just flat out just putting businesses there and saying, hey, you got to get out. Or let's say if a person have an apartment complex, they just getting rid of it and saying you guys are evicted because now we're putting up this business district, correct? Yep.
This is all the kind of stuff that they do, and they don't bring it to no vote. They don't have no meeting before they do, and if they do have a meeting, they have it in the back, a backdoor meeting or something like that, where nobody is a part of the process. So this all of this is happening, and it's something that for this long amount of time, we don't really have a say-so over, but that's why we have to fight. That's why we have to build a movement, because, we expect that the government's going to give us anything when the government hasn't given us anything. That's like naive. So we have to, fight for this whole process to end and change, the policy in this city.
So I also read that one of the things you mentioned in the police about the black community patrolling, or something about getting the cops out. So what would you present in a public policy to make that happen? Because I know the moment you say that, certain individuals, and we kind of know who we're talking about here, is going to be against that of black people policing their own community. So what policy are you going to put together to make that happen?
Well, black community control of the police is a just democratic demand that, of course, any black person would, wage, because we're the ones being brutalized by the police on a daily basis. And, it gives us the right, the black community, the ability to hire, fire, train, and discipline those who should function as police within our communities. And so now this force is, accountable to the black community. The people have to live here. We have to know who they are. And, it could be, a black community elected board, or, something that we create in order to, facilitate, a process where the people in our community who are protecting our community are accountable to it. And, that we want to totally deconstruct the relationship of, the ruling class status quo police, that the relationship that they have with our community. And a part of that, happens with reparations and economic development to the black community, because the police, serve as, a barrier between those who have and those who don't have, and those who have it at the expense of those who don't. They stole it from those who don't have it. So the police protect, the ones who have from, us down here, the black working class, fighting and competing over a limited amount of resources. So, we want to deconstruct that relationship, and, one of the things that we want to do also is to implement a policy where, because the way it works here, they have a county sheriff, and then they have city police, and we want the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, banned from operating within the city limits of St. Petersburg, because they are notorious for murdering black people. In just 2 years, they murdered 6 black children. And, then they blame our community for those deaths. So, we don't want them operating in our community any longer, in this city any longer. They have to go. And the police, black community control of the police ensures that the black community has power over, who is protecting the community. And, again, deconstructing the relationship that the police have operating in the interest of the ruling class, deconstructing that entire relationship. And, that also looks like, defunding the police and all these other things that I'm talking about, reparations and economic development. So.
Okay, so when you presented that about the police, what kind of responses have you been receiving? Because I know you've been receiving some.
Well, I think, the response that really is the most meaningful is the response that comes from the Black community, because we're the ones who are experiencing this on a daily basis. So, from the Black working class community, especially the young brothers who, are the ones getting, targeted and thrown in jail on a daily basis, they're all for it and they want to be a part of it. They want to be a part of this process, because Black people, generally speaking, don't deal with the cops, don't deal with the police. And that's because police come into our communities only looking, to create a situation so that they can throw us in jail or they can kill us. So when I'm talking to the Black community, I'm hearing a genuinely overwhelmingly positive response for this kind of policy. And even from the white community, because white people have to recognize their own interests in uniting with the Black community, because white working people catch hell, from what their government is doing to the entire city and what they're doing to the Black community. They might catch the second wave of it, but they catch it too. And, if they are, supposedly on the side of the Black community, they want to end police brutality, and that's what they want to do, and they stand in solidarity with us, then they have to unite with the demand of Black community control of the police. And so we even have white people a part of this movement, a part of this campaign. My running mate, her name's Ann Hirsch, and she's running in District 5 City Council. She's a white woman who unites and has the same platform that I have. And that's to take it into the white community to win unity with what it is that I'm saying right now. So, we get pushback, of course, but generally speaking, when people hear that this policy, what we're trying to do, will change the way the police function within the city, like I said, freedom and justice-loving people can unite with that. They don't want to see the brutalization of the Black community anymore. So.
Now, one thing I'm always concerned about is public schools, especially a lot of times with our Black children. They're suspended more than their white counterparts. And what really bothers me is the school to prison pipeline. They go to school with white children, the same school, yet only Black children, especially Black boys, are subjected to the school to prison pipeline. So what would you do to eliminate this school to prison pipeline? And you've seen videos even out of Florida of cops just body slamming and abusing children. What do you do to change that?
Well, on our platform, we call for Black community control of schools, and that the Black community should be able to, control the education of our people and our community. We want to get rid of the police on the school campuses, because why is there police on school campuses where there are children, Black children? And, we want to get rid of the police on school campuses. We want, again, Black community control of schools means that the community gets to determine the curriculum. And, we get to say what it is that we want our children to learn, because everything you just said is correct. Pinellas County is one of the worst, counties of, in regards to education in the world. They call it the failure factory, Pinellas County, and that's the zone to which all St. Pete schools fall under. And in order to get rid of this, because they also blame the black community, they blame the parents for the failure of their kids and all this kind of stuff, and that's not what it is. It's a system that is attacking Black children on a daily basis, that has no intention on passing Black children, no intention on creating a situation where Black people can come out of there and do something for ourselves. Like you said, this is a process to facilitate going to school and ending up nowhere else, having no future but prison. So, we also want to take, because one of the things that the city government always says is that, the school thing, it's not in our power. It's a county issue, it's not a city issue. When we say that's BS, that, if the school falls within the city of St. Pete, we have to take responsibility for that school. That, parents shouldn't have to be worried about their children being brutalized, shouldn't have to worry about them getting, this information and education that is just deteriorating their brains, that they shouldn't have to worry about those kinds of things. We have to take responsibility for the schools. And that means we have to fight on the county level to do that. We'll fight on the county level, but we want to be able, the city should be able to take control of the schools within the city. And that's what we want to do, so.
Now, I read also on your website, one of the things you're running on is about felons, having their ability to vote. Now, we know last year around the time they was trying to vote with Andrew Gillum, etc., that the voters voted for felons to have their voting rights restored. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, if your governor, Ron DeSantis, and the Republicans backdoored and broke the will and the choice of the people of Florida and want to put all these restrictions about they got to pay restitution before they get their right to vote. So what will you do to make sure felons can vote in your city?
Yeah, well, you are correct that the white ruling class in the form of Ron DeSantis and the Florida legislature, essentially vetoed the will of the people in the state of Florida, where people overwhelmingly came out and voted in favor of rights restoration for, felons coming out of prison. And, they added all these different, measures so that basically you can't get your rights back. And that's why it's on our platform. We recognize it as a form of voter suppression, and that it's a tactic that mainly affects the Black community. When it gets down to the nitty gritty, the majority of the people that are impacted by felony convictions, and not because there's anything wrong with our community, it's because our community is being targeted. Like we said, school to prison pipeline. Black people are being locked up on a daily basis and slapped with these false charges. And like when we knock on doors, because that's what we do, we go out and we hit the streets and we talk to, hundreds of people. And when we're in the Black community, they're always saying, there's a Black man that comes to the door saying he can't vote, but his wife can. I can't vote, but such and such can. And that happens so often. I mean, you gotta start the conversation with, are you registered to vote? Are you able to vote in this community? Because we're so used to this form of voter suppression. So, we want to challenge the government, the Florida government, challenge Tallahassee. And again, it's part of building a movement, because the government's not going to give you anything. They just took it from you. So again, you have to fight it. We want the city government to fight it. We want the people of St. Pete to fight it, and building a movement throughout the state to push back against this legislature. And we did actually start a process in this campaign where, we were doing outreach to, in particular, to felons, and, getting them to join this campaign, because even if they can't vote, it's their responsibility to fight for this future. It's for everybody. I mean, what I'm talking about, all Black people in this community. So, but these are the kinds of things we're just going to have to really fight it tooth and nail, and even lay out more what that looks like. But it starts with building a movement of people and to really apply pressure to this government. But, it's a part of a rigged election system. We're dealing with the voter suppression of the felons' rights, but St. Pete elections, period, are rigged against the Black vote. And this is just another tactic to, how they rig it here.
So in District 7, what is the demographics? Is that a majority, Black district?
Yes, it's 63% Black. This is a majority white city, and where it's roughly 23% Black, and District 7 is the only Black district. And there used to be at least 3 majority Black districts, and they gerrymandered the districts to be in favor of the white community. And so that has created a situation where now, because I ran for office 2 years ago in what used to be a primarily Black district, but they added a sector of the rich white population into that district so that the district would vote in favor of the ruling class. And that's a part of the rigging that I'm talking about. So District 7 is the last Black district, and we have to win this election, because the person that they have right now, the incumbent that's in office, she's just gonna allow them to take this one from us too. There won't be any majority Black district. There won't be no Black community. If in 2 years, if we don't do what we're doing right now. So
it seems like that you guys have to really make a push to register to vote. Now, how is that going on? Because if you got 63%, then all hands need to be on deck with this one.
Well, the registration period for voters is over for the primary election, but it is a part of our campaign where we go door to door and we're asking people, are you registered to vote? We sign people up, register them, and getting our community used to the idea of voting, because we don't, and not because it's, again, not a criticism of my community. It's because, politicians don't represent or have any agenda that speaks to our interests. So, we don't typically go that route because we don't see any change, any differences. In fact, our situation gets worse, depending. So we have to, win this in the community, that, this election, this time, if this is the first and last time you ever vote for this. And so, that's a part of the growing people's movement, going out, talk to the people. Voter registration is a part of it. So.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, like I said, even if you don't live in St. Petersburg, Florida, I believe that we can also assist her by donating. I know a lot of you did before, but if you said that, well, I need to see the sister and hear what she has to say, you heard what she has to say. She's very passionate. She didn't bite her tongue and didn't double talk one time, in my opinion. I mean, whether you live, because many of you asked me, can I donate to her? I live in the UK, I live in Africa. Listen, wherever you at, you can donate. Her links work. Make sure to help her, because it takes a lot of finance, I stated before, so you can have more finance and hire more people and get the word out and spend money on, different Facebooks, Instagrams, whatever, places that she needs to run ads to target her community. That also come into play, because especially in a lot of local politics, they don't use the strategies of social media as much as a lot of the modern candidates. So I believe that if we come in and be an assistance in the community with her message, I believe, she have a great chance at winning. So, Sister Akile, before we wrap anything up, do you have anything you want to say to the people?
Again, I really want to appreciate, just being on this show, appreciate you and African Diaspora News Channel and everyone who's contributed to this campaign thus far. It's much bigger than the city of St. Pete. And that's evident in the fact that, hundreds of you have, poured in your donations to support this campaign for what it means for Black people everywhere. And, when they see this, because we have our finance reports, they're, public record at the time that we have to turn them in. And when they see this, they're going to flip. The ruling class is going to flip when they see the support that we're generating from all over. And, that means we have to double down, and because they're going to increase their efforts to beat us. So we have to increase our efforts to win, and that we are going to win this election. There is no more business as usual. The people are ready for it. I'm hearing it on the streets. They want this. And, we just have a powerful campaign. Again, I'm running alongside a woman named Ann Hirsch. She's running for District 5 City Council. So you guys can also look her up at Vote Hirsch on Twitter and Instagram, and Ann Hirsch for District 5 City Council on Facebook. We're running on this joint platform. And, yeah, I really, really do appreciate this opportunity. And, like I said, we're going to win this for our people everywhere we are. We can be the example. St. Pete can make history and be the example for what the trajectory that the rest of the world needs to be on. So, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it yourself. So, make sure to look. We'll post our website and the donation links and everything once again. So, I pray that you definitely win this election in the landslide. That they be like, what happened? Why did she win? So that's what we want to hear from this campaign. So you definitely be blessed.
Thank you so much.